All right, so welcome back to Devopsdays Days online. I'm Joep. I'm joined today by Kris Buytaert, and we're going to talk about the fun things that make DevOps Days. So Kris, tell me, what do you do for DevOps Days Amsterdam these couple of days specifically? What's your role?
I think since the very first Devopsdays Amsterdam, I've been running the Ignites. So I guess that started out. I don't even remember when I started doing that, but
A long time ago.
a long time ago.
Yeah. So tell me, what are Ignites for the people that haven't heard about the concept?
So Ignites are a really fun talk format. It's 5 minutes. You get 20 slides, and they auto forward every 15 seconds. So there's a couple of challenges in there. For the speaker, it's really hard to actually kind of find a rhythm and make sure that your slides are not advancing faster or advancing slow. But you really have to figure out how to focus your message into those 5 minutes. And for the audience, there's a huge variety of topics with Ignites. And if there's like a topic in the Ignite that doesn't really care, well, it's just the perfect time to check on that email and respond to it and then listen to the next one.
Yeah.
So you kind of get an impression of a lot of different topics, a lot of different ideas from the speakers each time blocked into 5 minutes.
Nice. So tell me a little about that forwarding concept. Why was that introduced?
Honestly, I have no clue why that was introduced. We got the ideas ages ago, I think from, what's it called? Pekka Kucha? Something like
Right.
that. I need to look that up because it's been ages. We've been doing this as Ignite for like 10 plus years, longer probably. I think I ran them in Göteborg and in Rome, so that's 2012, 11, 13, something like that. And Amsterdam, I ran them the first time. So it was kind of a format that somebody at some point came up with. I think it was in Hamburg we did it the first time. I think it was Gildas Renardin who ran them. It kind of stuck because it was like DevOps Days is in the morning, the formal talks, like 3, 4, sometimes 5 formal talks. And then this was an option to give an audience a podium to a couple of more speakers while not filling a whole day with it.
Yeah, and I think it makes sense, right? So having different types of content always is a plus for, any conference, and specifically DevOps Days, where, we have keynotes, we have breakouts, we have open spaces, we also have the Ignites. It makes for a variety of content, but also it attracts different kind of speakers.
Yep.
So I'm assuming, I don't know for sure, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Ignites are kind of pro level speaking, right? This is not something you start out with if you're a new speaker.
It depends, because it's also less scary than to do a full talk. I know DevOps Days Amsterdam has had people who did for the very first time an Ignite talk. We had people here years ago who came from a school background, education background, who gave an Ignite on how they were using Kanban in their school ecosystem.
Yeah.
And obviously they were used to talking to people, but they've never done an Ignite. So it was their kind of first conference exposure. So for them it was new, completely new. But on the other side, it's also, I know for sure that this week there are speakers who are going to be on stage for the very first time doing an Ignite. So there's definitely a bunch of experienced speakers who say, yeah, sure, I'll do an Ignite because I know how to do this. I can run with it and I've got the experience. And even speakers, there's a bunch of people in our community who, if you need a slot and if you've got 5 minutes, you go, hey, can you do an Ignite in 10 minutes? They'll say, sure, I got something prepared because they have it up their sleeve. But I think it attracts kind of a mixed audience of people who are maybe too afraid to give a full talk. And on the other side of the spectrum, people who are like, yeah, this is really fun.
Yeah.
I also see that there's different types of people doing an Ignite. There's people who are going to literally prepare word for word what they're going to say. And I'm for sure that this week there's going to be at least an Ignite that I've seen last week, which is going to be word for word the same. But there's also other Ignites where people basically have a story to tell. They know they can fit a story in 5 minutes and the slides are just background. So they're going to have a variation of that same content, of that same story over and over again. And both methods work. But it depends. It's a different set of skills.
Yeah, no, definitely a different set of skills. And what I like about them is, and I think you touched on this earlier, is this is, content that doesn't necessarily fit into a longer talk, or, maybe you're experimenting with something, with a new topic, or maybe it's something that is just meant to be fun, right? So
It's fun topics. It's sometimes what used to be the case is that a lot of the Ignites in the early days were about the open source tools that we were using. And it was like, we don't want full talks about how to use this, what is this, who wrote it, blah, blah, blah. And then going into code, it's like, hey, I got this tool. This is the idea. It works like that. That's what you can do to next.
Yep.
And it really was sometimes a starting point for then in the afternoon in the open space to go to the discussion like, hey, you did an Ignite about that topic.
Yeah, tell me more. Yeah.
Tell me more. And
Yeah, exactly.
the hallway track got started and people started talking about those topics. And then obviously it started to also become like the fun factor, like, hey, let's do some really fun stuff on stage in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
We had great talks from people basically thinking out an idea on the spot. Ages ago, Patrick Dubois actually did an Ignite in London, first or the second time we were in London. And even before, he was like, I'm going to do 20 slides on what if DevOps was invented by Coca-Cola. And it was awesome.
And
it was awesome.
No, but those are the great talks.
It might even been more awesome because I accidentally gave him more than 15 seconds for each slide, but that's also the mistakes we sometimes make.
And that's fine. I mean, that's fine, especially for topics like that. It's fine if you have a little fun with it. But you mentioned another part, and maybe we'll kind of close off on that, because so one of the reasons I like Devopsdays Day so much is that it is a very social event. Networking, meeting new people, being with like-minded people, and actually having, specifically the open spaces where you can have a discussion as an attendee, so you're an active part of the event. I think that makes it, a very worthwhile event and a worthwhile community. And I wonder what your take is on open spaces. Are we hitting the mark on it? Are we doing them right? What's kind of next for open spaces?
I don't know what's next for open spaces, but when I go to events that don't have open spaces, I miss something. I want to have that interaction with people. I want to have that discussion on what are they struggling with? How do they solve certain topics? How do they do things? And if I don't have those, then it doesn't feel like a good DevOps Days to me. Most DevOps Days have them. Some are struggling because of language barriers, because of venue. But typically, if there's open spaces running, you won't find me in the talk, except if there's something really, really I want to see in that slot, or if I have to give my own talk in that slot. But yeah, to me, the combination of the three different forms and definitely open spaces where you get to talk to people, where you get to sometimes meet completely new people and continue the discussions later at a barbecue or at a social event. That's really where you get the real value from meeting people and from Devopsdays Days.
No, and I agree. And so specifically for Amsterdam, for this event this week, we're experimenting with online open spaces because we know not everyone can make it to Amsterdam. So, if you're watching the live stream, go sign up. We have a forum. So you can do an open space with the virtual audience. So, we're trying to make that accessible for everyone. If that's not your cup of tea, hopefully we'll see you in Eindhoven or, maybe at one of the other upcoming events.
Yeah. There's a couple of fun ones coming up. We are working to plan a 15th year anniversary for next year in Ghent, where we started.
Nice. Well, I think that is a beautiful way to close off this interview. Kris, thank you so much for being here. We hope you have a good couple of days. I'm looking forward to seeing you host the Ignites again. So with that, we'll see you at the next one.